And welcome back. It's time for game number 1 of the round of 16, day 2. We are here on Xel'Naga Caverns, aka QXC's playground. If you saw him in the round of 32, he's spawning as the red Terran under the tag FXO in the bottom left. His opponent in the top right, the Gateway Protoss, Mill.Adelscott, spawning in blue.
Absolutely, and if you guys are watching this not on the live stream, sorry, but we will recap just really quick. I want to mention the map pool is going to start out with 2 Blizzard maps, which Blizzard tends to make much smaller maps. I mean, they are, of course, entering maps like Tal'Darim, Altar, and things like this, but it's going to be Xel'Naga Caverns and Mill.Adelscott, which we are guaranteed to see games played on there. And we were mentioning a little bit before the game that QXC does love a very aggressive style of play. So in these games looking forward, just kind of expect to see QXC, if he's going to, stick to his style that we've seen before, just be super aggressive. And then the next 3 maps are going to be those GSL maps, which are huge macro maps. So I think we'll see very different games here, because I mean, we're guaranteed to at least see 3 games, so we should see a nice broad spectrum of different games, just based on the maps alone.
Adelscott going for a bit of an unorthodox build here. He's going for an 11 gateway as opposed to a 12 gateway. Typically we see people chrono boost out those first 2 probes, but he's dropping the gateway and then chrono boosting out twice, going up to 13 supply very quickly. And in the early game, I always love to look at the peons, because I feel like 2 things that tell you about what kind of StarCraft player you are is how you drive a car and how you split your peons. And QXC is doubling up those peons very nicely right off the start, mining those close mineral patches before going to mine the far ones. Mill.Adelscott not really going for that style. He's just splitting them to the close patches and then going to mine on the far patches. So I really feel like this says a lot about their style.
And a lot of players have actually messaged me saying, well, that doesn't really make that big of a difference, does it, Husky? And to be honest, it completely does. The opposite of that, the player Huck is also known for kind of doing the opposite, where he just sits there and mines your own minerals with that 1 probe. And at this level of play, it makes a huge difference. I mean, I don't know that we're going to see a Huck-level probe or anything like that. I don't think Adelscott's even scouted yet. No, he hasn't. He's just been sitting in his base right now. He is at 20 supply, does not only have a first Zealot on the way, already has a Cybernetics core as well, and all of his probes on that first gas right now. So maybe he's just a little bit skeptical of QXC. Maybe he thinks there'll be a proxy Rax or something like that, and he wants to get those units out as quickly as possible. Because as you said, yeah, the gateway's at 11, and he is just working on getting out units ASAP. Yeah,
throwing up the production tab, we see that the Warp Gate research is on the way. We've got a Stalker coming out, no chrono boost on the gateway. First scouting probe coming out for Adelscott, so that is a very unorthodox late scout. He's going to go in there and see largely nothing, as there's 2 Marines guarding the ramp in QXC's main base. But we can use our magical observer powers and look into his main base and see there's actually 2 barracks going up. One with the reactor going down first, and the second one going to be adding on the tech lab. QXC approaching 50 gas, now crossing that line. So I'm going to see what is he going to research out of this tech lab. Is it going to be the Marauder concussive shells for slow, or is he going to save up for stim? The timing looks like it's not quite going to be there for stim, and yes, it's going to be concussive shells.
Absolutely, and in a lot of the games I've seen from QXC, he really likes to go for that Marine Marauder play, and for right now we do have Adelscott going to be scouting out not only with his Stalker, but also his Zealot. A lot of times players will try and put on some pressure here at the ramp, try and snipe 1 or 2 Marines, or even just, soften them up with a couple of shots. There is going to be a pylon set up here for Adelscott, and we'll see if he decides to be aggressive here. Just looking at Adelscott's base, he does have that 3 gateway going down right now. I mean, the 2 additional gateways on the way to make a total of 3, which does leave the potential for pressure, especially with the Adelscott micro that we've seen before. However, right now QXC is going to be moving out.
QXC's got to be careful. He's got to cross the entire map, and there's 3 gateways back there. I believe he's poking, just looking for an expansion, but there's no expansion there. And Adelscott was a little bit lucky there. His Stalker got tagged by some Marauder fire, but the concussive shell was not complete. That would have been disastrous had he lost that Stalker, as his army is looking a little underwhelming right now. He's now going to switch 2 of his gateways into warp gates, and QXC is approaching the Zealot. Is he going to tag it with the Marauder? Looks like the Zealot's going to get away, while Adelscott continues to warp up units on the high ground, but he's really chasing down this Zealot. I'm not sure about this, as units reinforcing really going to go to work on QXC. QXC is continuing to push, going to take out that sentry. That's pretty big, and the Marauder gets taken out. Now it's only Marines, and the Stalker is going to be able to clean up that. So Adelscott really, I feel like, getting the benefit of this. QXC getting very aggressive, reinforcing with SCVs, now pulling back a little bit. I feel like he's going to regroup and continue to attack. He wants to link up with these few units. No, he's in a full retreat. He's got to be careful. Adelscott is warping in units by the gold base.
Yeah, that proxy pylon coming in utilization right now. There's only one sentry in this army right now. As you mentioned, one got sniped, which is huge. A lot of times an early rush like this comes down to how the force field usage goes down in that battle. But for now, it looks like Adelscott's going to be aggressive here. He has his army in a position to try and bust up the ramp. QXC's trying to set up a bunker right now. Doesn't quite have it up, though. So if Adelscott hits a nice timing here after taking out that army, then this could be very difficult for QXC to hold off, especially if this bunker doesn't finish.
Yeah, this is nerve-wracking. Adelscott has a lot of units. I feel like he's going to be able to break this. Stim is not done. Guardian Shield goes up. QXC is going to have to show us the micro of a lifetime, but looks like he's just standing his ground, trying to bring in the SCVs. The bunker is almost complete, 90, 100%. The Marines jump in right, but they're getting focused down so quickly. The sentry does not have enough energy for force field, but it looks like it does not matter. SCVs are going down so quickly. All the SCVs are being focused down and killed. And this may be the end for QXC. Marauders trying to clean up. More SCVs being pulled off the line. Is his next round close? No, not close to being finished. Adelscott reinforcing with more Stalkers, 2 more Zealots, and this may be a very quick match.
Absolutely, with all the SCVs offline, QXC only has one SCV mining minerals, so this is all he has, this is his entire army, and he is going to GG out of this game. This just shows you how quickly the tides can turn if you lose your first push. I still had the game open, and just looking at Adelscott's base, he already had his Nexus at about 95% completion, and the problem was is that QXC not only lost that initial push, but he also was building a command center in his base, so that was 400 less minerals for his defenses, and it was just too overwhelming for Adelscott. So again, we basically just saw QXC's aggressive style work against him, and he did chase down that first little Zealot, and he overextended himself by quite a bit. Adelscott saw that, took the option to pounce. He lost that original Zealot, but it really paid for itself considering he killed that army. And then also the reinforcing units for QXC got there just a couple seconds too late. So a very short game, but I got to hand it to Adelscott for realizing when he needs to move out and when it's okay for him to put on that pressure. Definitely paid off for him, so it is currently 1-0. What a very quick first game here.
Yeah, you know, and despite being a quick game, I want to focus on a lot of things that QXC did right there in the early game, pairing up those SCVs very nicely, going with the 2-rack style so he can put pressure on, researching concussive shell. Those are all very nice things. A thing he was doing that was a little atypical that was really nice was he wasn't sending his SCV scouting right through the middle. Time and time again, I think he did it at least 2, maybe 3 times. He sent that SCV to the 9 o'clock expansion and then all the way through the back door and around. I feel like he got caught by, there was a little bit of a battle going on there at the top left when he was pushing out. So he pushed out with the first army and sent that SCV around. He wanted to go in and see if there was an expansion, and I'm sure if that SCV got in and saw there was no Nexus up, QXC would not have continued to push. He would have known, okay, there's either a robotics coming up that I can't deal with, or there's 2 or 3 gateways. I'll pull back. There's no need for me to pressure. But what happened was Adelscott chased down that SCV with the Stalker and Zealot. I don't think he killed it, but he forced it back. And that's what triggered QXC to get aggressive. And that was ultimately his downfall when he got trapped into that corner.
Yeah, and that map especially, it's very important for Terran players to scout around that way because when you're being aggressive like Adelscott was, you can't really leave units in your base. You kind of need every unit you can, and it's very tempting once you have that proxy pylon set up just to warp in all your units at the front of the line instead of leaving something at your base to defend against the scouting. So I think he had the right idea. The execution just was not absolutely perfect in that one. Right. So a very interesting way to start off this series. I mean, QXC definitely showing us his aggressive style of play. We'll see if he's going to do it here in game number 2, which is going to be Mill.Adelscott, and I think it's really important to say that QXC definitely was super upset after MLG, and I have seen him, if he's playing bad and he's in a slump or whatever, he tends to get kind of caught up and not play to his full potential, but he does still have 2 more games that he can lose before he's completely knocked out, and again, it's going to be Mill.Adelscott, which is a Blizzard map. Everyone has played this map 8 million times. Everyone has watched 8 million games on this map, so I don't know that we'll see anything too tricky and that the players do not expect, and it does look like we are going to go ahead and go to a commercial here, so I don't know if you have anything else to say, Chill, but I am getting really antsy here for game number 2.
Well, I'm going to have to slow you down. I have a few things to say about Mill.Adelscott. TSL Mill.Adelscott has been modified, so there is no close by land position, so the only opportunities to spawn on this map are either cross positions, so long by air and ground, or same side of the map, be it bottom left or top right, which is we call close by air. QXC is probably going to want that close by air. That's going to mean his very powerful Terran pushes come a little bit closer. And also his harassment style, famous for Banshees and also doing multi-prong drops, attacking while dropping. If he's close by air, those opportunities all open wide up to QXC. On the other hand, we've seen Adelscott spawn close positions with a champion like MVP and go 14 Nexus. MVP try to rush it down with 2 barracks and lose. So Adelscott is no slouch in defending the close position. So what I'm going to be watching for when this game loads up is going to be, are we close by air or are we far by everything? And that's really going to dictate the pace of the game. So I want everybody on the stream to be watching that closely as we come right back after this short commercial break into game number 2.